Hey everybody, I'm Steph. This is Coach Ali. Welcome to our new fitness and nutrition question segment.
So guys, we've developed this new segment particularly for our channel members so that you can ask us any questions that you've got around fitness and nutrition, and we get to talk back to you guys and answer it to you in video format.
Coach Ali has been transforming bodies in the gym for over 25 years. So if you're a channel member and you have fitness and nutrition questions around how to create your ideal body, then be sure to ask us and we'll be sure to address it in this new format.
Absolutely. Now, before we get started, guys, if you are not a subscriber to this channel, could you help us out by hitting that subscribe button? Your support of the channel will allow us to create not just the daily workouts that we do for you guys, but also segments like this. And we really appreciate your support. If you want to become a channel member, then simply hit the join icon, and this will allow you to access all the extra features, all the members only workouts, the training series, transformation series, and so forth. But it also enables you to ask questions and we can address it in this format.
Now, this question came from quite a few of our channel members. And the question is, why do you not do kettlebell workouts?
That's a really good question. I've been asked that numerous times now. I'll tell you guys frankly, I think kettlebells are not very well designed because, you have the weight underneath it and then you've got the handle on top. So as far as ergonomics is concerned, it puts a lot of pressure on your wrists, on your elbows, and so on. And quite frankly, there's not very many exercises that you can do with a kettlebell that you can't do better with a dumbbell, which is perfectly weighted. So in my gym, I don't actually use kettlebells. I experimented with them about 20 years ago when they got popular. And then I decided the way that they worked, they were a lot more prone to injuries and so on and so forth. In my gym, nobody gets injured. So we have a big policy of teaching smart training. And so for me, kettlebells are out, flat treadmills are out, sissy squat machines, they're out. So there are some equipment that are not as well designed as others, and I choose to use the ones that are more ergonomic.
Yep.
So I want the most amount of improvement in the physique with the least amount of risk to injury. That's what I'm looking for. And so for that reason, I generally don't use kettlebells.
We also get asked this question quite a bit, and that is, how do I know what weight I should use for each exercise?
Okay, that's a really good question. A lot of people ask me, what weight should I use? Or they even ask, what weight are you using, right? To me, that's an irrelevant question because the weight that I use is not going to be the weight that Steph uses. And it's also not going to be the weight that you guys use because each person will have different strengths and weaknesses. So when you're doing our dumbbell workouts, what's important is that you have a weight that is relatively light for you. You also have a medium weight and you have weights that are heavy for you. So if you've got 3 sets of dumbbells, that'll be ideal. You're going to use different weights for different exercises. And in a scenario where I may use a particular weight, that will not be suitable for you. So don't try to replicate what I do or what Steph does. Try to work on what works for you. Remember, again, we're looking for the most amount of result you can get with the least risk to injury. Be smart about it.
This question comes from Alex, who is one of our gold members, and he asked, what is the most effective way to breathe during exercise?
All right, so first of all, I want to say thank you, Alex, for supporting the channel. It means a great deal to us. Your question is actually a really common question, and there's a really simple answer to it, okay? So each one of your repetitions has a concentric part and an eccentric part. So the concentric part is basically the doing part of the exercise. So in other words, if I'm doing a bench press, it's the actual push. If I'm doing a row, it's the pull. If I'm doing a squat, it's the way up. So the hard part of the exercise is your concentric part of the exercise. That is always when you're exhaling, okay? So it works across all exercises. The concentric part of the exercise equals the exhale. And the reason you use your exhale is because, especially if you're training heavy, you need to use your core strength. And to engage your core and use that strength to finish the movement, you need to be exhaling. If you're inhaling, they don't marry up. It's not going to work for you. You'll find if something is really heavy, you have to exhale as you're trying to lift it, right? So the exhale goes with the concentric part of the exercise. The eccentric part, or the negative, some people call it, or the way down or the way back, whatever you want to call it, that part of the exercise is always your inhale because it's your reset.
This question comes from Dreamseeker777. He's one of our new members. And the question is, do you feel protein is essential for muscle growth?
All right, so first of all, again, thank you for joining us, Dreamseeker. Yeah, it's really great to have you as a member, and of course, really good opportunity to get the answers to the questions that you're after. So, all right, so let's hit it. Is protein essential for muscle growth? Absolutely, 100%. So you'll see I've got several videos where I talk about the need to have between 1.5 grams per kilogram of protein up to 2.2 kilograms. And so for muscle growth, especially if you're trying to bulk up and get that muscle in there without adding that extra body fat, you've got to make sure that a lot of your calories come from protein. So, you may have some new sciences that tell you otherwise, and, so on and so forth. But I mean, let's face fact. Champion bodybuilders, champion fitness models, bikini models, and so on, they all follow a formula that's worked and withstood the test of time. So I don't think we should deviate from that. The latest scientific findings, for me, that doesn't amount to a great deal if the proof over the past 25 years, 26 years that I've been coaching is in one particular direction. That's essentially what we need to follow. So to answer your question, is protein essential? Yes, it absolutely is essential. 1.5 to 2.2 grams. And what I'm going to do, in the comments below, I'm going to share a link with you. I've actually already done a video with the top 8 sources of protein, okay? And I've ranked these from 8 to 1 purely based on the value of the protein. So I would say Dreamseeker777, check that video out. It not only talks to you about the importance of protein, but it also gives it to you in the right order, so you can start to select proteins that work for you that also match up with your dietary requirement as well.
So Dreamseeker actually has another question. He asks, I am a pescatarian. What do you think is the best diet?
That's a fantastic question. Look, it really depends on your definition of pescatarian. I'm going to tell you something. So when I'm competing and I'm cutting for competition, my diet best resembles a pescatarian diet. So does it work? It absolutely works. Now, from the same video that I recommended to you from your earlier questions, you'll see the top 2 sources of protein, in my books anyway, are egg whites and fish. So we're talking about white flesh fish and red flesh fish. Now, my understanding of a pescatarian diet, or the way I treat it anyway, is that you can have egg whites and you can have all fish, shellfish, anything else that is seafood, basically. And then you tend to couple that with, your carbohydrate sources, your vegetables, and so on. And as long as you're putting all of that in the right order, pescatarian diet does not work against you, as far as I'm concerned. And I know there's a lot of different diets out there. If I had to choose one diet, and that's the one that I had to stick with, it would in fact be a pescatarian diet. I think it's a fantastic diet. It works very well, and it's withstood the test of time.
This question comes from Hester De Beer, who's one of our new members. Firstly, welcome to the membership and welcome to our channel. We're really, really grateful to have you here. And the question is, how can I strengthen my lower back?
Okay, that's an excellent question. So rather than telling you how you can strengthen it, what I'm going to go ahead and do, Hester, I'm going to create a program for you to strengthen your lower back. Now, this week we're actually releasing a program. In fact, we're releasing a couple of programs, a mild one and a more aggressive one that actually works on your middle back, on your thoracic spine. So basically we're talking about, people who sit in front of computers all day, or maybe drive for a living. No, you actually exercise quite a lot. So when you're not exercising, you're sitting in front of a computer. But I mean, a lot of people, their 9 to 5 involves sitting in front of a computer. You might be a driver, someone who drives for a living, or you might suffer from injuries like thoracic kyphosis, or scoliosis, or any other injury that might require more attention to strengthening your thoracic spine, your middle back. So we're creating that this week, but what I'm going to do for you, Hester, I'm going to put this question on the agenda as far as the programs are concerned, and I'm going to create a lower back strength workout for you. So if you follow that, that answers your question to a T.
This question comes from Mark Bartholomew. He's one of our Diamond members, and it's a question that I am also very keen to know the answer on. Should I be hungry before eating?
So first of all, I want to say thank you, Mark. My Diamond members are, I consider them my most loyal members, so I thank you very much. Now, should you be hungry before you eat? Well, look, if you're following a nutrition plan, then it's going to be timed. You're going to have certain foods at certain times. So do you need to be hungry? No, you don't, because when your metabolism catches up, you will be hungry. I can tell you, again, when I used to compete, 2-3 weeks out of comp, I'd be up to 8 or 9 meals a day, right? And so they're small meals, and they're obviously very calorie controlled, macro controlled meals. But the fact is, after about 2 hours, I would be absolutely starving. And that's because my metabolism was fast enough to be able to get through that food. Do you need to be hungry? No, you don't need to be hungry. If you've timed your meals based on a particular plan, stick with that plan, because the consistency is the key. It's not, some days you're more hungry than other days. So I wouldn't change the pattern because you're less hungry or you're more hungry than yesterday. I think keep it consistent and stick it out.
Mark has a follow-up question, which is, what amount of training should you be doing to consume this amount of food?
Okay, so that relates to the nutrition plan, the male nutrition plan that I put out, and it was based on a particular weight range for our channel members. Look, I think if you're going to follow that type of diet, you should be training at least 4 times a week. I think 4 times a week gives you enough rest break in between, but it's also consistent enough for you not to fall off course. Can you follow that diet on your day off from training? Yeah, you absolutely can. But what I would recommend is only follow the dietary plan 6 days a week. Give yourself a cheat day. So, we call it a cheat day, a cheat meal, or so on. And so that's an opportunity for the leptin in your fat cells to essentially communicate with your brain and redevelop and let your brain know that you're not actually starving. What you are doing is you're actually consciously dieting. So to follow up on the question, look, you can 4 days a week, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, I would keep it in that range. Will it be effective for 4 days? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I wouldn't be training 2 days a week.
Okay.
You need a little bit more training than that.
This question comes from Most Defiantly, who is a Blue Diamond member. Firstly, thank you so much for being a member of our channel. We really appreciate your support. And the question is, are there any good exercises to improve grip and wrist strength?
Okay. Look, that's a really good question. Over the decades, I've seen a lot of people do, for example, forearm flexor exercises with dumbbells, extensor exercises, rotational exercises, stuff like that to improve wrist strength. As far as grip strength is concerned, you may have different coaches with different views, but let me tell you what I've seen over the past, 26 years. So a lot of people will start off with weak grip strength when they first start training with me, particularly if I'm training them one-on-one, right? Especially on back and biceps day where it involves a lot of pulling, you're rowing, you're doing lat pull downs, you're doing things that actually require you to grip. If you're doing pushing exercises, then you don't need that grip strength so much. But what happens is it develops with practice. So rather than giving you certain exercises, I would say be consistent in doing, particularly your back and biceps exercises, the exercises that actually require the pulling exercises, if you like, as opposed to the pushing exercises. What you can do, we've recently started to put out a lot of programs where there's isometric movement, where, for example, let's just say you're doing a single arm row and then you're holding tight. Okay, if we're holding tight for 20 seconds, 30 seconds, or whatever might be the case with that particular program, that's going to really improve your grip strength. So I would say be conscious of those programs, do them, and just be consistent and be vigilant. Because what happens is after about 2 or 3 weeks of people training regularly with me, grip strength is no longer the issue. It always starts off as the biggest problem on a back day. So it's not the guys feeling their lats or, feeling something else. It's always, okay, grip strength is gone. Forearm flexors in particular are really, really tight. I can't hold anymore and so on. But that's usually at the beginning A few weeks in, a few weeks of training really consistently, that tends to go away because you do develop enough grip strength.
So in relation to Hester's last question, he also asks and says, I get severe lower back pain when I do things like a plank, burpees, or Russian twists. How can he change that?
Okay, so that's really interesting because those back pains are going to come from several different things. Now, if you're doing a plank and you don't have your tailbone tucked in, so if you're kind of bridging in the wrong direction, you're going to feel that pain in the lower back. And generally that's because your core is not actually keeping up with you. So that would be a core strength matter. In relation to things like burpees, it's a little bit different because that's an impact matter. So, your back is hurting because of the actual impact of the movement and not so much holding a particular course. So it's a few different things. So it's a matter of watching your technique more than anything else. A good way of training is train with a mirror in front of you, because when I give you the form guide and you watch us train, you want to be able to mimic that and look at yourself in the mirror as you do it. Now, once you've watched us do a couple of repetitions, you kind of get the idea. So then it's a matter of looking at what you're doing and try to compare it with how we do it.
This fitness and nutrition question comes from John Sebastian, who's recently joined us as a new member. Firstly, welcome, John. Thanks for being with us. And the question is, what are your thoughts on intermittent fasting?
Okay, that's a good question. I actually get that question quite often. So, look, here's my view. And again, not everybody's going to agree, but again, it's based on what I've seen work. So intermittent fasting is one that I've experimented with for several years with a lot of my clients, okay? I think a lot of times when they put intermittent fasting content out there, they don't distinguish between people who train and people who don't train. So if you're somebody who has no time to train and you need to lose quite a lot of weight, the advantage with intermittent fasting is it limits the time that you can put calories into your body. So it tends to work. On the other hand, if you're somebody who trains regularly, right? Intermittent fasting, I don't believe is for you. I think a more refined diet, similar to a contest diet, a bodybuilder style contest diet, will work a lot better because we need to get enough calories in to keep the bone density and to keep the muscles there. Firstly, because you're actually training. So unlike the person who doesn't train and does intermittent fasting, your circumstances are quite different. The other thing that you need to consider as somebody who trains, look, nobody has ever won a bodybuilding contest or a bikini contest or a physique contest using intermittent fasting as their tool. So if you're consuming small, frequent meals throughout the day, similar to a contest style diet or similar to a diet that I would put a client on if they come to me and they need to lose weight, that is more refined. Small frequent meals, we know that increases your metabolism. We know it works. The counter argument is, you're getting blood sugar spikes throughout the day, because that's what advocates of intermittent fasting say. But again, look, you need a little bit of glycogen to be able to get through your weights training. The intermittent fasting might work well for somebody who doesn't train, but if you are training, I would go with a time managed, macro managed diet as opposed to, eating foods during a particular period of time only.
Thank you to all of our channel members who asked their fitness and nutrition questions of us today. Thank you so much for your support. We love having you with us along the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to be able to support you guys through more than just workouts. If you'd like to join the channel and have these back and forths with us in video format, then simply hit that join icon, become a member, and we want that opportunity to be able to help you guys out. Make sure you keep asking your questions, guys, because we're going to do segments like this quite frequently. We want to try and put at least once a month, perhaps once every couple of weeks, depending on how much questions you guys are asking, basically. But once again, we want to really thank you guys, particularly our members, for your support of the channel. And let's do this together.